And then the question came up last time about this, and so I added it on here. Council member Kraus asked, okay, if we adopt this, how are you going to implement this? And I think this was a good question, so here it is, and it will be a committed active management, and there's no way to do this otherwise. It'll take active scheduling and accountability. That's why we built in deadlines, and incessant review. I mean, it's just got to be continually reviewed. And then the transparency part is where we're reporting what our what our progress has been, what our challenges are, and where we need to go. Sometimes you need to change some things, sometimes you don't, but that's how we plan to implement this. And I believe that's it.
You ran out of slides.
That's it. I could go through it all over
Yeah.
again.
Well, thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to commend you and the Parks Commission for developing this master plan. I think it's obvious that a lot of work has gone into making this happen. And I think, in addition to the formal city Parks and Recreation Department with our formal cluster of parks, there are a lot of features in Moscow that make Moscow unique and add park-like and recreation options that exceed what we have on an official city basis. So, for example, we have an ice rink that's maintained by a group of people that like to skate and somehow managed to put this building up and have agreements with different groups and so forth. But it's not really, it falls out of the master plan. It falls out of the city parks department. There's a 12.5-acre nature center on the north end of town that's not really accounted for. There's a privately owned cyclocross course on the south end of town that has maybe a mile of dirt cycle riding in town. There's an arboretum that's run by the university. There are all sorts of, there's a Palouse Empire Gymnastics, there's dance programs at the university, there are all sorts of other recreation programs that various groups have, that the university has. There's the fairgrounds that Dan mentioned. There are all sorts of, there are 2 trails that plug into our trail that go for miles on either side. The mountain biking on Moscow Mountain is world class. There are very few communities in this country that have mountain biking to that extent, so well networked on private land, so close to a town of this size. I mean, there's some really unique, incredible things, as you know, about Moscow in this area. I mean, you mentioned the Virgil Phillips as a regional park. Well, the private use agreements that exist that because of the Moscow Area Mountain Biking Association, MAMBA, is like another regional park for that use. So there's some really neat things. And we have in here goal 3 is collaboration with others. Goal 4 is a discussion of open space. Goal 6 talks about partnerships. I think it would be really useful if there was an appendix to this plan that listed, as well as we can, listed all these other features that exist within Moscow. Because if those go away, we're going to be scrambling to try to figure out how to replace them. If the cyclocross thing goes away because the industrial park gets built, or if the whatever happens, or the whatever, I think it's helpful for us to acknowledge our private partners or our other our other, public partners. It's
Sort of an area of impact inventory too, because Mamba's not exactly in the city
No, it's not
limits.
within the city.
Idler's Rest.
It's not, right, there's Idler's Rest. I mean, there's a lot of really neat things that exist here, and I think it would be, if we're not going to add that appendix tonight, which is not super likely, I think that it would be good to try to, account for this as soon as possible and get it added in here, because it really is what helps to make Moscow unique. It probably makes your life really complicated and busy, but it really is this cool thing about this community, and perhaps it's why a lot of us like to live here, are all these other features. So I mean, it'd be nice to somehow recognize that.
And Outside Magazine did that for the university in part because of those resources. Did you want to respond to Tom
Yes, I
before we
could,
go on?
or I would, please. That was discussed. It's been a while since that was discussed, but I think you were actually liaison to the commission.
It was a while ago.
But they wanted a base foundation master plan first. And then, of course, we expected this to be done sooner, but at that time, and the plan was, or the discussion at that time was that when we did the next update, that it would include a broader outside of Moscow picture, because there's things in just in Pullman even that affect us in a good way, that they're even closer than some of the other things that we use all the time that people just don't know about because it's over there, or they know about it but they don't make the connection between what we do here and what they do there. And so it has and was already discussed, and that was I don't have it in writing, but that's what we discussed doing, was having it in the next update. Exactly what you're talking about.
Dan?
Yeah, Dwight basically said what I was about to. How far can you stretch this? You could talk about Nordic skiing at the old ski bowl. You could talk about the ATV and motorcycle trails up out of White Pine Drive, and the motorcycle trails that come off of Skyline Drive, and the hunting opportunities. I mean, where do you stop? I mean, you're getting to more of a visitor guide than a master plan. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and perhaps that is what the appendix would be. Is a tourism guide,
Right, it's a list
basically.
of what-
This is what's available in Moscow. That's almost like something that the chamber would have made, or probably has talked about and things like that. But I think that we need to focus on what does Moscow have that Moscow owns. Moscow owns the Virgil Phillips farm. That's why it's included, and that's why it's kind of the oddity that it doesn't happen to be in town. And I think that throws a lot of people that really don't know that. And I still want to see a sign out there that says that the city owns this, even though the county maintains it. But that's for another.
Walter?
It's for a meeting we don't have anything to do.
Thank you, ma'am. Dwight, I really like the part that talks about formalizing agreements with Moscow School District, and I think the efforts that we've made and the advancements we've made regarding the Joseph Street ball field property make me optimistic that we might be able to work something out in that regard. Table 5.5 is the one that listed the bicycle racks that were referred to earlier. It's on page 5-9. What's keeping us from doing the low-hanging fruit on that chart? Bicycle racks, barbecue pits, park benches, picnic tables, and trash cans.
Nothing's keeping us from that.
I mean, they're relatively low in cost. I know nothing the city does is cheap, but they're not as bad as a new
Restroom.
brick toilet
Restroom
at
downtown.
East City Park.
That's right.
Should we be looking at
Be found.
getting those done once determination is made that this chart, which indicates the national standard, is really that we do need 2 more trash cans at Pick-a-Park? So I was wondering if we shouldn't look at trying to pick off those bicycle rack type things.
Mr. Grundon already has those instructions.
Yeah.
And the point of this chart, or this table, is, we go through a park every day, let's say, for example, and you're really comfortable with that park. It has everything you ever wanted in that park. But until you look at the standards, you might not realize that it probably should have more things, different kinds of things. And that's what this is supposed to point out to us. And we have this. There is no reason that we can't
If you've
be
got a park and
taking
the
care of
trash
it now.
cans are only 1/3 full every week in the summer when the park is used, if it says you need more trash cans, you may not.
Correct.
On the other hand, if they're overflowing all the time, it's pretty quick to figure out we need more trash cans.
Yes, or more people to empty them.
That too.
Or recycling containers instead of trash.
If I
Oh,
may.
good, please. Keep going.
Okay, would you go to that revised table where you put the NAs on it? Can you get back to that without a whole lot of trouble?
Right there.
I want to make sure that the NAs take care of the problem. 0 is that it's in excellent condition.
Yeah,
Yes.
the composite score should be NA on Almond Ellsbury, I guess.
I'm
'cause
sorry?
it's not- Well, it says, so you said it's a total composite score 0 for Almond Ellsbury, even though you have all the NAs?
0 is good.
0 is excellent,
Yeah.
and 4 is doesn't exist or needs repair. And I'm just asking,
No, we
does
we
this
fixed
chart
that.
now reflect that reality?
It does, and
Okay.
in the verbiage we took out the it was on there. It was condition number 3 on the
Okay.
amendments that I asked for, and that was to delete the either does not exist or.
Okay, so that,
that eliminates that
this,
confusion.
this is taken care of,
Taken care of.
okay?
It's a good catch.
And then,
Okay.
the last item I've got, if I may, ma'am. We got an email this afternoon from a developer's representative who had read the earlier version of this document that was scheduled for one of the committees
It's
2 to
online.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was pulled to look at it. And my belief is that the concerns regarding zoning and subdivision ordinances that were in that document have been addressed. The one request that email we got today made at the end was that was a question of whether or not there are any significant changes in the plan to the current ordinances.
There is not.
Okay. That finishes my list, except for being ready to make a motion when anybody else is. So. You got down there.
And I ask you to not do that till I get to ask that question about bicycle racks. Okay, hang on. Tim?
Are you-
Tim? I saw
you.
your finger next.
Dwight, in several locations in the plan, comments were made about coordinating with the Moscow Arts Commission. I know there's been lots of discussion at the administrative level about things that have occurred within the parks that may or may not have had, or other city properties that may or may not have had arts participation. So after reviewing the plan, I took the opportunity to show what you'd written in your master plan with the chair of the Arts Commission. And Robin Olgren, who is the chair, was very pleased with what she saw here, looking forward to being able to work with parks when things like public art can be placed in existing parks or new parks. So she was very thankful and appreciative of making those comments. I'm the liaison with the both Parks and Rec and Moscow Arts Commission. You guys have worked extremely hard at putting this thing together, and So all of that having been said, unless somebody else wants to make some additional comments, I'm going to make a motion.
So Tom has some comments, and I have some comments. If you
I
don't
just
mind
had
holding
the-
on that thought for a minute, Tim. Go ahead, Tom.
If you may, I
Please.
just had the question, just the clarification on the bike rack thing. Is it supposed to be one, like, a place for 2 bikes to park? Or one, I'm not clear about if the recommendation here is to have, Number of-
The recommendation, if I may, is to follow the national standard, and whatever it is, that's what Dwight's
and
talking
right,
about.
so does the national standard talk about bicycle parking spots, or just a rack, but it doesn't say how many bikes can park on that?
I cannot quote that to you. I have not
So-
looked that up, but
so-
I
But
know
it
that
does matter from a
this is
practical-
racks, but I don't know how many spaces per rack it's talking
Assume
about.
it's a 16 bike rack.
Okay, well, then I'm good.
So just, and that's the gist of what I wanted for clarification too, as we look at this. If that chart could be clarified, even with an asterisk explaining what that .5 or that 1 means. Is it one bike parking space, or is it one rack that can accommodate 2 bikes or more? And if that could be clarified, is that enough flexibility for if the
Right.
council chooses to approve this with your proposed amendments? Could
When
that?
this, right, my point is that when this city does other things like, I don't know, develops, a parking lot for a business, or makes a certain requirement for a business, it's clear what we're talking about. I just want that same clarity with this, is all I'm trying to say. So, do we have the clarity that says that there's an ability to have 1 bike parked there or 10 bikes parked there? And if we don't, I don't see that same clarity. I'm just trying to make sure we have that. If we're going to
Comparison,
Madam Mayor.
comparability, yeah. Yes.
comparability.
I read this as saying, follow the national standards. It doesn't even have to have numbers in it. It doesn't have to say 1, 2, 10, 5, 150 bikes. It's to follow the national standards, is what this says.
Okay.
If Dwight goes
Well,
back and looks and sees that 1 additional means a 16 bike rack, then that's what it would be proposed to be. If it says it's 1 additional bike, the national standard for that area, that's what it would be proposed to be. I don't think he's attempting to shorten the number or lengthen the number. He's just talking about standards for this type of park with this size acreage.
Right, and
Am
grill.
I right?
Grill,
That's correct.
is not.
It
Grill
would have
is
saved
not
me a
an
whole
inter-
chart,
Right, and I'm just saying that with respect to the word bike rack, it's not clear if it's not explained.
Well, there's no reason we can't exceed it.
That's all I'm saying. If, it'd be nice to know what that's being said.
Easy
We're-
fix. Does that help?
Easy fix, he
What's
said.
that? Yeah,
Easy fix.
great, thanks.
Okay, Tim.
Are we ready?
Go,
We have a
quick,
set of
quick, hurry up.
I move that the City Council adopt the Parks and Recreation Master Plan 2013 to include Dwight's 8.
Actually, there would be
requested
9 now.
9. What is the 9th one?
The
bike rack.
clarification of the bike racks.
Didn't we strike the one on Paradise Path, number 5?
No.
No, because it was,
Or delete the paragraph.
Or delete the paragraph?
We're doing
Deleted
delete.
paragraph.
So we're going
okay.
to, and my motion would include deleting the paragraph on the Paradise Path Task Force.
Yeah.
I'll second Tim's motion.
Tim's motion, Dan's second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll start a roll call vote with you, Tim.
Aye.
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 And I.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Dwight. Wow, since
much.
2007, it's been a long haul.
How
Good
many
job.
pages did that
Good
end
job.
up being? No, because it goes 6959, I just wanted to have.
6,600. I don't know, I fell asleep after.
Yeah, right.
Mayor Kane.